Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. We still mourn with the Namibian nation upon the passing of Dr. Hage Geingob, whose memorial and burial will be this coming weekend. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning. How are you, Ashwin?
I'm fantastic.
Well, let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. Oppenheimer's granddaughter begs RISE Mzansi with 15 million rand. AU Commission Chief urges action on Africa instability, and Senegalese citizens rally against presidential election postponement. We'll also be talking to talent Gore, who will be filling us in on what's happening in Zimbabwe. A little later on, Ari Hohat will update us on the sporting news. Do stay tuned for these and more on Africa Good Morning.
On behalf of the National Road Safety Council and all stakeholders in the road safety subsector, I extend our deepest and heartfelt condolences to the former First Lady, Madam Monica Geingob, the bereaved family, the relatives, friends, and the entire Namibian nation on the sudden passing of our beloved President, His Excellency Dr. Hage Gottfried Geingob. His leadership, resilience, and firm belief in systems, institutions, and processes will forever be kept and cherished in our hearts, as well as his belief in unity, inclusivity, and equality. I, on behalf of the National Road Safety Council and all stakeholders in the road safety subsector, join the rest of the nation in mourning the passing of our distinguished leader. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Let's get into our top stories. Rebecca Oppenheimer, the granddaughter of De Beers founder and former chair of the diamond company Harry Oppenheimer, has reportedly donated 15 million rand to the newly registered party RISE Mzansi. It's a political party. Now, Rebecca is a board member of the Oppenheimer Memorial Trust, where she can contribute to her family's philanthropic endeavors in South Africa. Party leader Songezo Zibi confirmed the receipt of the donation during an interview with SABC this week. Under the Political Party Funding Act, political parties are required to disclose donations ranging from over 100,000 rand to 15 million rand. RISE Mzansi was established in April 2023 and was officially registered by the former editor of Financial Mail and Business Day in October last year. Eastern Cape-born Zibi said that the party was setting out to organize, mobilize, and empower citizens to build a country where people are free and enabled to pursue happiness and well-being. Now, during its manifesto launch, the party called on the president to prioritize school safety.
Now, the chair of the African Union Commission has called on leaders to tackle conflicts in the continent and condemned a series of coups in some African countries. Musa Faki Mohamed made the call on the first day of the two-day AU summit. Wars in Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo are at the top of the African bloc's agenda. The conflict between Israel and Hamas, poverty, climate change, and education are other key topics to be discussed. In his remarks to delegates at the summit in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, Faki, who heads the AU's secretariat, which manages the day-to-day activities of the bloc, said he was extremely worried about a litany of difficulties facing the region. He said Sudan was bruised, torn, and sinking into chaos from a war that has been raging since 2023. Libya was divided and exposed to foreign interference, and the Sahel region was facing a dangerous power vacuum. He expressed concern over the fighting in the Democratic Republic of Congo, saying the conflict in the east of the country was leading to a worsening of its internal crises. Africa cannot remain arms folded and not work to promote genuine peace in the region, he said. He also criticized unconstitutional changes of government following a string of coups in West Africa and expressed concern that terrorism was destabilizing some countries in the continent. He said the rise in jihadist insurgencies was resulting in exorbitant military spending at the expense of vital social sectors while opening the way to misleading populist speeches.
Now we swing over to Eswatini, where 7 government ministries have been called upon to account for all cars that were bought through project funds. This is reflected in a memorandum issued by the Principal Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, Sizakele Dlamini. The memorandum is a directive to the 7 ministries to provide information on inventory for all cars purchased through project funds. The ministries are those of Public Works and Transport, Natural Resources and Energy, Health, Education and Training, Economic Planning and Development, Agriculture, as well as Information, Communication and Technology. The memorandum reads, "You are kindly requested to submit to the Ministry of Information regarding cars bought through project funding. The information sought is about the number of cars bought through each project funding, their registration, as well as submission of the relevant papers for the different cars."
Now, the Trade Union Committee of the publicly owned company Mozambique Airlines has demanded accountability for all those allegedly involved in embezzlement and other corrupt schemes which have been harming the operations of the company as it fights to recover from bankruptcy. The workers' demand came after the LAM top management denied accusations of embezzlement of around $3.2 million recently raised by Fly Modern Arc, the South African company, which was hired by the government to bring LAM into profitability and rescue it from bankruptcy. The workers, in a letter issued on Thursday, regretted that they had only found out about the alleged embezzlement through the media, although the union is the body that by law should be informed in the first instance of all matters related to the workforce. And in this matter, it has not had this information either from Fly Modern Arc or from the general management of LAM.
All right, those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we talk to talent Gore about stories ranging from Deloitte exiting Zimbabwe and the latest suggestions from the International Monetary Fund. Stay with us.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Africa Good Morning prides itself on its ability to decentralize African news for you, making sure that you get the stories from around Africa on the ground. Speaking of which, we're going to talk to talent Gore, who is in Zimbabwe, ready to bring us the top stories, starting out with the latest polio outbreak. Talent Wamukase.
Tamukhedu kana mamukau amkase Africa.
Tamukahedu, please do continue with your story.
Yes, the Zimbabwean government has confirmed that the outbreak of type 2 poliovirus variant in the country, saying that an emergency polio vaccination program has commenced. Addressing journalists in Harare, the Health and Childcare Deputy Minister said the detection of these viruses in the environment or in humans constitute a polio outbreak. He said that the Health and Childcare Ministry wishes to inform the public that it has confirmed through laboratory tests the presence of type 2 circulating poliovirus variant in environmental samples that were collected towards the end of 2023 from sewage sites covering various locations in Harare. He also said that in addition, and through intensified poliomyelitis disease surveillance in the country, a similar circulating poliovirus variant has been detected in a 10-year-old child from Sanyati district of Mashonaland West Province, who presented to us with acute paralysis and had laboratory tests done for confirmation. So since that, they have since launched another polio vaccination campaign across the country, and they have been going around vaccinating children who are under the ages of 10 to ensure that they are protected from the virus. It doesn't matter if that child has been vaccinated before, that child has to be vaccinated again since they have confirmed an outbreak in Zimbabwe. So far, they've recorded one such case in a 10-year-old boy in Sanyati, which is another location in Zimbabwe, in Mashonaland West Province.
Now, the global auditing and consultancy firm Deloitte Africa has announced its pending exit from Zimbabwe. Can you get into this?
Yes, global auditing and consultancy firm Deloitte Africa has announced its pending exit from Zimbabwe with a buyout arrangement in place for senior partners to take over the local unit under a new name. In a statement, the firm said the new arrangement has been mutually agreed after extensive discussion between Deloitte and Deloitte Zimbabwe, focusing on how best to serve the unique needs of its Zimbabwean clients. The exiting team will continue to deliver the same high quality audit, consulting, tax, and advisory services clients expect under a new brand name. They announced. This also comes as a number of international firms continue to exit as operations in Zimbabwe uh, amid concerns of the economy in Zimbabwe. You also find out that Standard Chartered has also left Zimbabwe, and also Barclays has also left Zimbabwe, and now it's Deloitte Zimbabwe which is exiting. But they are saying that the senior partners, they are going to stay behind and they are going to start their own consulting firm, and they'll be guided by Deloitte Africa. So we are just monitoring to see the situation, to see how the economy, to be precise, is going to respond to some of these mega big companies exiting Zimbabwe.
Because, I mean, if we're going to be very honest, these aren't companies that shy away from bad economies. You know what I'm saying? Their job is to audit for the most part. These are companies that kind of thrive in economies where things aren't always going as they should. So this sounds like an issue with authorities, with the way things are run, with the mechanics surrounding how they must be able to do their job. Someone has to ask those questions. If you're any African in any country, if two banks and one of the world's most reputable accounting firms is leaving your country, what is happening? Now, the International Monetary Fund has also seen some room for improvement, as they have urged Zimbabwean authorities to fully liberalize the country's exchange rate. Do tell us more.
Yes, the International Monetary Fund has urged the Zimbabwean authorities to fully liberalize the country's exchange rate, warning that currency depreciation and attendant distortions could spell doom for the nation's economic growth prospects. The IMF team has been in the country working on a new staff monitor program to support Zimbabwe's economic stabilization efforts. So whilst they were addressing journalists after the meeting with the RBZ governor, with the finance minister and the deputy minister, and also those from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, the head of the mission, Malish Bashik, said exchange rate distortions would impact future growth in a country that has suffered economic turbulences for years. He also said that we are concerned about the exchange rate depreciation since December, which was quite rapid, which then led to an increase in Zimbabwe dollar prices. It's not only that the exchange rate is unstable, but there are some restrictions. He also said that there are some incentives for the formal sector to move the informality. There's a 10% cap on the pricing in relation to exchange rates. This affects the tax base and future growth, and this is one of the policies that we discussed with the with the Ministry of Finance, Minister Mtuli and the Financial and the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. Governor John Mangudka. So they say that the economy, in particular the exchange rate, has to stabilize rather than what is happening around this time. There's a lot of distortion in regards to the exchange rate. You find out that on the street they have another exchange rate, in supermarkets they have another exchange rate, and in banks they have another exchange rate, and there's the official exchange rate. So you find out there are just a lot of exchange rates with people, which people are using. You can take, for example, if I have my United States dollar, or if I have my Zimbabwean dollar, if I want to exchange it with some form of currency, I have to use my own exchange rate, which I see it's suitable for me as a person, and I'll gain something from it. I'll not just sell my United States dollar or my Zimbabwean dollar using the official exchange rate. I'll have to think of an exchange rate that I'll see that will benefit me as an individual.
Yes, indeed. And of course, I mean, these are one of those times you might ask some of the personnel decisions to see if they're efficient enough, if the IMF is stepping in. For example, the deputy at the Treasury is the president's son, who is armed with a law degree and no experience in the sector. Thank you very much, Talent Gore, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's take a look at our weather predictions before we return with your economic news.
Getting into our economic news stories, the direct costs of non-tariff barriers in the East African community are estimated at $16,703,970 with the total trade impact being just over $94 million, a new report shows. The EAC Regional Meeting Committee report shows that trade has decreased by an average of 58%. Tanzania and Uganda have been cited as having the highest number of unresolved NTBs, with Tanzania having 4 unresolved issues, Uganda having 3, and Kenya and South Sudan having 1 each as of February this year.
Getting into our next story, Italy's top appeals court has established that sending sea migrants back to Libya is unlawful, a ruling hailed by charities and human rights groups. Another court of cassation upheld the conviction of the captain of an Italian towboat, Asso 28, who in 2018 rescued 101 migrants from a rubber dinghy and returned them to Libya. The rescue took place in international waters about 105 kilometers off Libya, the court said. Pregnant women and children were among the migrants it added. The captain, whose name was blacked out in the ruling for privacy reasons, was sentenced to 1 year's imprisonment for the crimes of abandoning minors or incapacitated persons and arbitrary disembarkation and abandonment of persons. He is unlikely to go to prison, however, as in the Italian system, jail terms of under 4 years are not normally served behind bars.
Say what now?
I know, right?
Yeah, very interesting. All right. Stay with Africa. Good morning. Ari joins us after the break for your sport.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Now, aside from being proud Africans and people who love Namibia, Glenn and I share one incredible thing in common, the bedrock of our friendship. We are both Arsenal supporters, and thus we are very happy after our 5-0 win. I know Liverpool supporters such as yourself, Ari Hochad, are quite happy. As for the Manchester City ones, you might want to check on them a little later in the day. They're still adjusting to how things are going. To give us the sport, Ari, good to see you.
Yes, good to see you as well, Ashwin. Yes, it's a little bit of a light blue Monday. It was more of a red Monday today, with the teams in red mostly winning over the weekend. So what you touched on is the English Premier League, leading at the moment still Liverpool on 57 points. All teams have played 25 games, besides the defending champions, Manchester City, 24 games. So briefly, Liverpool's 57 points. That is after beating Brentford 4-1. That is action from the Manchester City game against Chelsea. They played at home, so it was a surprise. The dropping points, even though it was Chelsea. Chelsea currently 10th on the log, not having a good season. 1-1 that ended, so that means that City drops to 3rd on the log with the 53 points. They have one game in hand. Arsenal, 2 points behind Liverpool. They in second position, 55, showing incredible form, beating Burnley 5-0. They beat West Ham the previous weekend by 6-0. So away they collectively 11-0 the last 2 weekends, so showing incredible form. And Aston Villa making up the top 4 on 49 points at the moment. Manchester United also keeping their winning ways. They beat Luton Town away 2-1. They crept up to number 6 on that English Premier League. What's happening coming weekend? The top three playing at home. Liverpool at home to Luton, Manchester City at home to Brentford, and then Arsenal at home to Newcastle United. On to some rugby news. The United Rugby Championships continued. It was 2 derbies that we talked about quite a bit. South African derbies, the Lions versus the Bulls, and the Sharks and the Stormers. That's the Stormers there in action against the Sharks. The Stormers managed to win in Durban, 25-21. They're 6 on the log at the moment. It is the Bulls with a good result. They beat the Lions away in Johannesburg, 25 points to 10, and that put them up in number 3 on that list. Good performance by the Bulls. Still leading Leinster. They've got 39 points after 10 games, after beating Benetton quite comfortably. Coming up, everybody can make a note that 2nd of March, big game. It's at Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria. It's the Bulls that will host the Stormers. On to cricket news. It's the English playing in Ireland, playing in India, and it's the 3rd of the 5-test series. It is India that won that game quite convincingly, a massive win by innings, and won it by 434 runs, and it was England bowled out in the 4th innings for 122 runs. Great performance by India. Jaswal, the opening batsman of India, scoring incredible 214 not out in the 2nd innings. So great performance by Jaswal. We can remember that name. Also briefly, Namibia playing in the ICC World Cup League at the moment. They beat Nepal over the weekend by 4 wickets. Playing against the Netherlands as we speak. Not a good start for them. It's a 50-over game. They were 63 for 6, unfortunately, after 20 overs a few minutes ago. So not a good start. But and then that's the international sports news for today. I hope it's a great sport day for everyone. And we talk again international sports news through the week. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Cheers, Ari. Thank you for keeping us informed.
Hope that, Arsenal keeps on winning.
Of course.
And that, we might as well just win the whole damn thing this
yes.
time around.
Okay. Yeah, you heard it from Glenn herself. We'll be back with the highlights. Getting into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Oppenheimer's granddaughter backs RISE Mzansi with 15 million rand. AU Commission chief urges action on Africa instability. And GFAFDB and AFC join forces.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning. From me, Glenn Rashipura.
And Ashwin Berry. Sora Shakanaka.